Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, members of the global insurance community. Welcome to the Dive-In Festival 2024. We are so excited that all of you have decided to join us today for Around the World in 60 Minutes as part of the Global Inclusion Channel. We have a record attendance at this session and on behalf of our entire committee, we have gratitude for all of you who have prioritized this session today. So I'd like to kind of start off with thanking our sponsors. We have several great sponsors that we're really appreciative of supporting not just this event, but all the programming across the platform. That includes the Multicultural Reinsurance Association, the Hartford, HSBC, Travelers, Zurich, AIG, Munich Re, Chubb, Aon, Swiss Re, and my very own Guidewire. I'd also like to take a moment to thank all of our volunteers on our committee who are both working at these sponsors and also across the insurance industry that have really helped to make this session possible today. Also want to thank personally our leader, Grace Eng from AIG, who has led our subcommittee over the past few months. So now I want to switch to our session title and objectives, Around the World in 60 Minutes. We really have three key objectives for this session today. The first one is increasing awareness of diversity and inclusion topics to progress the industry towards an inclusive and high-performing culture. Our second objective is to bolster the reputation of insurance as an industry by demonstrating global collaboration on inclusion. And thirdly, this session is really to enable you to take part in year-round action to increase impact and personal contribution to the cultural of your company and across our industry. Now I'd like to take a moment to introduce our esteemed panelists. We have really great representation across various segments of the insurance industry. So I'd like to start off with actually Anne-Marie Camp, our North America Business Development Leader with Chubb, Bemini Patel, our Project Manager, Internet of Things Innovation Lab at the Hartford, Kevin Johnson, Global Function COO at Aon, Yamila Harris, Global Head of IT Delivery Service at Munich Re, Rob Tyndall, Senior Managing Director, Enterprise Risk Management at Corebridge Financial, and lastly but not least, our moderator, Michelle O'Reilly, the Head of Talent Strategy and Performance Management at AIG. I'm also really excited to say that we're going to have a sketch artist during this session who will be recording some of the key thoughts that will be discussed today live. And our sketch artist is Alson from the Sketch Effect, who will be capturing these thoughts, and the final drawing will be available on our website for the next 30 days. Throughout the session, if you have any questions, please refer to the CVent app and include your questions there. It's a tight 60 seconds or 60 minutes around the world, so not all of the questions will be answered, but really appreciate your feedback and questions throughout the session. Also, stay tuned for the very end of the session. We'll do our inclusion pledge. And another note is that this session will be recorded. It'll be available on the website for a couple of days and then on really YouTube for 30 days after that. And please, share your participation, your enthusiasm, share your pledge using hashtag Global Inclusion Pledge or hashtag Dive-In 2024 throughout this session and throughout the days really and months to come. And on that note, I'd like to hand it over to Michelle O'Reilly, our moderator. So thank you all.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. It's so great to be here with all of you. As Christina said, I'm Michelle O'Reilly. I'm responsible for talent strategy and performance management at AIG. And as part of that role, in diversity and inclusion is absolutely an integral part of what we do on a regular basis. I'm really excited to be here with some very passionate individuals who are all committed to driving an inclusive workforce agenda forward within their respective areas by focusing on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Before we kick off with some questions, I'd like to just give them an opportunity to tell you a little bit more about their roles, where they're from, and in one word, I'm going to ask them in one word to describe what inclusion means to you. So, Kevin, can I ask you to kick off for us?
You bet. Hey, I am so excited to be here. Happy to be a part of this esteemed panel. Again, as indicated, I'm Kevin Johnson. I'm one of our regional COOs for Aon. I spend a lot of time with strategy execution and operational excellence, really helping to support our clients, and colleagues. I've been with Aon for 13 years next month, so really excited about that. I like to tell folks I wasn't born in insurance. I came from telecommunications, but my stay here has been incredible. I love insurance. If I had to describe one word to describe inclusion, it would be team. Team is so important. So.
Thank you, Kevin. I love that. My one word is acceptance, and I'm really hoping that I didn't steal that from anyone on the panel, but I think those two things definitely go hand in hand. Yamila, how about you? Would you introduce yourself?
Oh, absolutely. And again, super thrilled to be here with all of you that are joining us virtually. I myself am also typically virtual when I am not on an airplane somewhere around the world. I'm based here in Orlando, Florida. Again, as previously noted, my name is Yamila Harris. I'm the global head of user experience and IT support for Munich Re. So in essence, everyone around the world across the company is my customer. And well, with Munich Re, I've had the pleasure of being with Munich Re now for close to 4 years, but I have been in IT for over 30 years, since before it was actually called IT. And if you were to ask me what that one word is when I think about inclusion, I'm going to go with belonging.
Belonging. Wonderful. Yamila, I also have an affinity toward IT. That's what my educational background was in, and spent most of my career before joining AIG supporting technology in one way, shape, or form. So I have an affinity for our technologists on the line. Rob, how about you?
Good morning. Some of us remember before it was IT, it was called electronic data processing, but I won't go down that hole. Anyway, my name is Rob Tyndall. I am the Chief Risk Officer for two of the businesses at Corebridge Financial, the retirement services business and the institutional markets business. Corebridge Financial is a spinoff from what used to be called AIG's life and retirement business. We went public, did an IPO 2 years ago. AIG still owns a big piece of us, but we're in the process of being spun off from AIG and being an independent a life and annuity insurance company. I am broadcasting to you from Houston, Texas, and the one word I would use to describe inclusion would be self, as in whole self.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And if it makes you feel any better, I learned how to be a mainframe programmer, specifically learning COBOL when I was in university.
Yep, me too.
So, Bamini, how about you?
Yeah, so my name is Yamila Patel. I work for one of the oldest insurance company that is out there, and it's The Hartford. And I serve there as a project manager in the Internet of Things, IoT Innovation Lab. Similar to Kevin, I come from the telecom industry, but I'll be 5 years in November at The Hartford. And I am actually talking to you from Connecticut. And while the word inclusion can't be described in just one word, and few of my favorite words has been taken by the panel, I'll say besides belonging, acceptance, I'd say synergy and humanity.
Love it. Thank you for sharing. All right, let's go ahead and I should open it up to the all the people on the call today. Please feel free to share your questions. We'll be more than happy to take any questions that anyone would like us to consider. We do have a few questions that we're going to start off with, and I think I'll start off with an easy one, and hopefully we'll speak to the passion that all of these great individuals bring to the table when it comes to diversity, equity, inclusion. And that is, can you tell us about And I think we'll start with Bamini here. Tell us about your most favorite program. Whether you were a participant or you were leading it or you were actively involved in it. What is your favorite most innovative diversity program that you were a part of, and how did you know it was successful? How did you know what the impact was? Just tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure, Michelle. Thank you for the question. So at the Hartford, we have so many programs. We have a comprehensive suite of DEI learning experience, which is like a key contributor to our inclusive culture and employee behaviors. We have created a core curriculum, which is provided to all new hires and people new to the leadership roles. New employees participate in appreciating differences training as a part of their onboarding, so that they understand the importance of respect and inclusion in our workplace. People who are new to the leadership complete the Managing Inclusion Learning Experience program, and it's teaching them how to respect and be inclusive in our workplace. We have also created an innovative inclusive leadership capability program, which aims to build the inclusion capability in all people leaders at the Hartford, where they learn about bias awareness, examine personal identities, and demonstrating inclusive behaviors while connecting to how these skills and behaviors positively impact the company. I've been a part of several of these programs. Actually, just recently, I've been personally benefited for one of the program, having been recently graduated from an accelerated program from Asia, which was tailored specifically towards Asian Americans. I learned a lot about the people, about the culture, their viewpoints about certain things, and I'm able to create that lifelong learning for myself. And also, thanks to this program, I made some lifelong friends as well. We have some of the amazing resources, employee resources, and apprenticeship programs throughout the company. We have 9 employee resource groups, and we also have workplace communities, which are key to our DEI efforts. The Hartford Workplace Communities was launched right after COVID in 2022, and it was created to bring people together beyond their day-to-day team work. And this program has allowed, and it continues to allow to all the employees to expand their sense of purpose and belonging to their respective function and to a geographical community of cross-functional employees, because we have offices throughout the country. And these programs, employees have the opportunity to develop relationships across all of our businesses, and it's an opportunity to participate into these workplace communities. Through these 9 geographically centered communities, employee can attend not only in-person events, but also it's available to virtual, to virtual employees. It is curated by the leaders within their community, and to connect on the business, the career, and social topics that deepen the connection, not only with the company level, but also with each other. At the Hartford, inclusivity and a sense of belonging is extremely critical. We celebrate cultural events, so many of them. And on the top of my mind, what comes to my mind is Diwali, Eid, and Lunar New Year. These are like some of the biggest ones that we celebrate every year. As a matter of fact, we'll be hosting a Diwali celebration coming up next month, and the preparations are fully going on. Our Diwali celebration, which is a part of the Asian Pacific Professional Network, what we call is APPN event, it is always packed. As a matter of fact, I was told that just a couple of days because I'm part of the committee. This year, it's going to be oversold out. So it is amazing to see people from all backgrounds coming together to perform, to eat and celebrate. So several of these events I've been part of every year, and these events highlight the value of culture and belonging in our workplace. And additionally, for along with all these programs that I've mentioned, for anybody within the company that's looking to grow, we also have allyship and mentorship programs. DEI has made me thoughtful, engaged, and loyal, and I'm committed to fostering an inclusive environment for everyone. It just shows that we just don't talk about the inclusion, we live it. We have personal stories and testimonials from employees and partners that highlight the tangible impact of our DEI efforts. We have created a sustainable DEI culture by taking a whole company approach, which is rooted in all levels of our organization. I'll share another personal example. Like during Diwali, which is the Hindu festival of light that symbolizes the victory of light over darkness and good over evil, the Asian Pacific Professionals Network Employee Resource Group puts on a celebration. My colleagues not only attended, but also performed on the stage with me. Despite not understanding the lyrics or music, this experience shows me that we are all alike despite our different backgrounds, traditions, and skin colors. Looking ahead, I think businesses can build on these strategies and seeking feedback, staying transparent, and being willing to adopt. It's crucial to make a DEI a core value that influences every aspect of the organization, ensuring that everyone feels valued, heard, and empowered to succeed.
Thank you so much, Bimini. As I listen to your wonderful sharing, I think about employee resource groups or business resource groups, or and I think there's such a powerful way to engage the entire organization. And I love the idea of hosting, and I've done it and I've seen it in organizations, is the cultural events, because it really gives people an opportunity to demonstrate a sense of pride in their background and their experiences and what they value. And it's really just such a great way to appreciate a different background. And I love hearing about those celebrations happening in other organizations. So kudos to you and the team. Kevin, can you add your perspective? How have you been successful doing that?
Yeah, I'll definitely try and augment what Mimi has shared. And certainly, we have very many similar, programs and things that we offer and do within the context of our environment. But when I think about what I'm most proud of, I think about it's about awareness, it's about education, it's about understanding and digging in deeper. And that awareness really helps to heighten, our ability to be able to connect with one another better. And so when I think about that, a few things that we do around inclusive hire program that we have. And this is where we have a mandate around all managers to take a 3-part, learning session to help them deliver consistent and inclusive recruitment processes. And again, this is a global, mandate, and it helps to create, that awareness. Folks that have gone through this program, we have shown the success of it. Folks are 40% more likely to hire candidates from, underrepresented, groups and what have you. And so that's something that we're pretty proud of and continue to push on the educational piece around that. Also a piece of that I think is extremely important, that's an element of that series, is the unconscious bias training. And I wanted to call that out specifically because all of us, I think, have a a walking around, vision of ourselves and how we view things. And what I found is that the unconscious bias training has showed that we all carry some unconscious bias. And it's not just, relative to DE and I, but other areas as well, too. And so I love the fact that we continue to push this within the organization and help to increase that awareness. It helps to create the belongingness because everyone is in this, environment of understanding. One of the programs that I'm really proud of is the what we call the Elevation Experience, and this is for high potential female and ethnically diverse leaders within our organization. And this program allows them to spend one-on-one time with our executive leaders within Aon to really help them, communicate who they are, what their interests are, and to have these executive leaders be able to share with them their own experiences and how they've gotten to be where they are. Inherently, what this does is it creates a little bit of support and advocacy for these individuals. And the success that we've seen in that is that it creates a level of engagement from these colleagues where it creates movement, where it creates even promotional opportunities, where it creates opportunities for them to get involved and engaged, in special, projects and what have you. And so that's something that we have a great deal of pride, around. And we are pushing toward our third cohort on that. And it's usually 120, 150 colleagues that are involved with that for each cohort. And then as Bamimi, indicated, we are extremely proud of our apprenticeship program. We are headed into our sixth cohort on that. And, we're across the U.S. And other areas around the globe, for this. But that has made such a huge impact, taking individuals from community colleges, not just individuals who have come from the traditional educational, streams and what have you, but have given them an experience to not only work a full-time hours consisting of education as well as on-the-job experience. And so we found that has been extremely successful. It has actually changed the lives of individuals, and we hear these stories time and time again, how it has actually created first-generational opportunities for individuals to not just have an education be paid for and assisted, but to have them come into corporate America and work as first-generational individuals. So that's what I'll share.
Amazing. Thank you, Kevin. I'm proud to say that AIG is taking a similar approach in that regard and giving opportunities for people that may not be able to afford the 4-year degree, and give them a learning experience that enables them to progress as an insurance professional in an organization. So I want to go back to your unconscious bias. I think, one of the things that I've done and I found to be so incredibly impactful is really getting people to appreciate what it feels like when there is a bias. And so one of the workshops that I've tried is just breaking the group into 3 different groups, and then had them reflect on what does it feel like when you are accepted, when you are maybe given lip service. I call it tolerated, but not in a positive way. When you're invited, but nobody's listening to your perspective. And then when you're not accepted, when you don't feel accepted, because at some point we've all been there. And we know if we take the time to think about it, we've all been there. And there are moments in our life, whether it be personally or professionally, where we haven't felt accepted, and that the impact that has on our ability to engage and perform is very significant. So I love that you're doing that. You're doing that across the board, and really making sure that there is a dialogue and a recognition that we're while we are all unique, there are a lot of things that bring us together. So thank you for sharing that. Anne-Marie,
Michelle,
do you want to?
One quick comment on unconscious bias, something that I've seen some companies try on that, because it's almost impossible to completely eliminate it. We're human beings. But that for initial screenings for the hiring process, to actually eliminate name and picture from the resumes and use just the description, just the background and skills to identify potential candidates.
I love that. I think that goes for talent discussions inside an organization too. So
Yep.
you're not, sometimes just hearing a name, you've heard a story, and that can bias a conversation, and we don't
Sure.
want that unfairness. So thanks for sharing that, Rob. Anne-Marie, did you want to share your favorite experience? What's your favorite diversity program?
I would say I'm really excited, and thanks everybody. It's thrilling to be a part of this channel. I'm with Chubb. I'm based in New York City, and I lead our business development efforts. And what's great about sort of being in the business development space is really thinking about internally how we can really accelerate the culture at Chubb, being a welcome, opening environment for people from all different points of view and perspective, but also dealing with our business partners, our agencies, and people outside of the organization. And so one of the things that I'm really excited about inside of Chubb, and that's been a core of our cultural awareness, is our what we call business roundtables. And so we have them, whether it's our impact group with women, our pride group, our even Thrive group for people who are maybe working with children and people that they're taking care of, working with our Mosaic group, which represents Black, Asian, and Latinx communities. And what I love about these groups is that we use it as a way to really go beyond the organization and work with critical business partners and clients to really demonstrate that we are owning sort of inclusion and diversity as part of who we are and demonstrating it, and not just talking about it like some of the other panelists said so eloquently. It's really walking that talk and understanding that in a diverse world, Chubb is in 54 companies with people from various backgrounds, a global economy. It's actually critical and makes business sense to really be an organization and have people who represent different points of view to really to drive success and be able to really change in a very fast-paced environment where there's new challenges and opportunities all of the time. And so it's really a thrill to kind of hear that all of the panelists are really thinking about how do we support people with different points of view and appreciate them for those differences.
So something interesting, I just want to chime in here because everyone has mentioned common ground. Everyone has mentioned to some extent the topic of unconscious bias, and we've all talked a bit about ERGs. And when we talk about innovative approaches, I think it's really easy, especially when you have ERGs in an organization, to still have this silo mentality, or boxing things in and categorizing them. And I think that one of the things that helps companies to break free from that is finding ways to create intersectionality across ERGs, right? So it's not just I'm here and I'm creating awareness for this one box. The fact is that there's common ground across the groups. And how do you take those ERGs, find that intersectionality in ways where you're moving from awareness to action, right? So what are the things that you can do together that create action?
I love that, Yamila. Thank you for chiming in. It made me think about an experience that I was a part of. I was privileged to be part of, and it was part of a high potential development program, but I've expanded the thinking, and that is we did a volunteer event, and that volunteer event was to weed the waterfront of the East River in Queens. And when I say weed, when they proposed the idea to me, I thought it was a garden. It was literally the waterfront, so like trees, bushes, and we were all a bit taken aback that that's what we were going to be doing. But the experience, everyone rolled up their sleeves, and they really we were able to do an entire city block in a few hours, and it was just amazing to people to see everyone come together around a common cause from all different backgrounds from around the world. And that shared experience has created a community of individuals that have, this was several years ago, that have remained in contact, who are incredibly supportive of each other, whether it be looking for a new job or a challenge that they're having at work. And so I'm a really strong advocator for volunteerism and leveraging the community engagement groups that we have, and using that as an opportunity to create a shared experience where people get to know each other outside of the workforce. And I think that creates such a bond that is very meaningful and long term. So that's one of the ones that I'm a big proponent of. I've heard lots of wonderful ideas, and I've been taking frantic notes as who I'm going to follow up with afterward, because I'd love to brainstorm what you're doing and see how we can take that into other companies. But when I think about programs, and I think Anne-Marie said this very, very well, is obviously we want to make sure that there is that we're improving business value. And so one of the things that I think is just so important is to think about how organizations can integrate DE&I initiatives into their business strategy, so that it is, it's not on the side. And I think, in some companies, that is how DE&I is treated. It's separate. But I think there's real power into having it integrated. So I'm going to ask, maybe Anne-Marie, you could start there.
Sure. Thank you, Michelle. I think, apologies if this is slightly redundant, but I do think and sort of that DE&I and that again, belief that there is value in different perspectives, and that there has to be sort of an understanding that we should be our full selves, or be able to be comfortable being our full selves at work, is just has to be part of a culture. So I think of it as more than initiative. It has to be sort of a core tenet of who we are as a person or as a company. When I think about sort of integrating into business strategies from a long-term and a short-term perspective. From a short-term perspective, I think it's been an interesting time where we've seen evolution post-COVID. We've seen difference in hybrid working environments that can create additional opportunities for inclusivity in many different ways. And I think that essentially we can really put forth, again, short-term programs which are helping people, one, be aware, but two, identify opportunities to bring in more diverse candidates as we have new hiring opportunities. I love, Kevin, what you were saying. We think a lot about that too. We have CAP programs where we're really trying to make sure that we aren't sort of looking in the same places that maybe that we have previously. It's about not being rote about how we hire or recruit, but really expanding. And I think from a long-term perspective, as you think about as an industry, over the next 10 years, I think we would all agree there will be turnover as people retire. And so now is the time to be thinking about not just recruiting people from multiple different places, and I think the younger professionals actually value a diverse working environment and want to see that, and want to see a company that has values that they appreciate in sort of the current state of the world, but also thinking about how do we build programs. I think similar to what Kevin mentioned at Chubb, we have an advancing women's program. So we're not just thinking about short-term strategies, but long-term, who will the leaders of the future will be? How do we make sure that those first rungs on the career ladder are not broken to begin with, so that we can really develop leaders from various backgrounds and invest in them and give them that opportunity to be support systems to each other, to mentor each other, and to gain sponsorship from very experienced professionals and executives, so that we can, translate some learnings, but also bring in new learnings and perspectives.
Wonderful. Rob, you want to maybe give your perspective on that?
Sure. Yeah. So one comment I want to make overall on the business value that diversity and inclusion brings The Supreme Court weighed in on diversity as a criteria to be used for the admissions to universities and colleges recently. Many companies are talking about diversity and inclusion differently than they used to because of that. The conversation has, different acronyms. The programs have been less publicly emphasized by companies. But there's still a simple truth that's out there, is that diverse companies deliver more shareholder value long-term than non-diverse companies. It's that simple. So I don't think that any of the sort of political to and fro is going to change that fact. And that underscores the importance of this to corporations in general. At Corbridge, we have incorporated diversity into all employees' objectives for the year, as announced by the CEO. One in particular talks about shaping the organization, the workplace, and the culture. And we have sort of a 3-pillar strategy around that. One is the workplace, which is sort of attracting and retaining our top diverse talent through leveraging partnerships. One is workforce, which is fostering and advancing a culture of inclusion and belonging. And that's leveraging the ERGs within the company. And then the third pillar is the marketplace. How are we seen by the marketplace, both not only the communities where we operate, where we work, but also the clients that we serve, et cetera. We're in the savings and investing business. We make promises and keep promises for people to help them achieve a secure future. And there are cultural differences that come with that. People of different cultures think about saving and investing and, frankly, debt differently. So financial wellness is different by different groups culturally. And so I often think about that as a business opportunity, that if you're going to engage with the marketplace as a diverse company that honors and respects different ways of thinking about financial wellness, that will engage the marketplace differently and also your employees differently as well.
That's a perfect segue for me, and because I want to piggyback off of this, right? You talked about diversity. I think we can all agree that diversity adds business value, but I think the key here is how do we do it effectively, because it cannot be diversity for the sake of diversity. And I think that that's something that people shy away from speaking about. It becomes this conversation about, ticking a box, meeting a number. And I don't think that anyone that is representing, any form of diversity wants to be put in a box that says, oh, I'm here because I checked a box, right? On the contrary, I think part of having this conversation about implementing diversity and having it add value means that you really have to look at diversity in all of its forms: experience, thought, backgrounds, and not bringing it into an organization and then institutionalizing it in a way of saying, okay, I have people that look differently, but I've now created this culture within the company or subculture within the company where they cannot think differently and cannot express themselves differently. And I think that that's the difference between doing diversity and doing diversity right? This is where the inclusion part of DE&I also comes into effect as well. And that has to come from building trust from the top down, leading by example from the top down. I think that each of us can make a difference individually, but it also has to be something that is manifested in all facets of the company that you're in. I've been working in global companies for a very, very long time. And so when you think about, I work with people from all over the world. And diversity means different things to different people and to different countries as well, right? Because what might be a demographical issue in one place is not a demographical issue somewhere else, or vice versa. And so when companies start to look at things more from, okay, how do we educate folks and look at things like moving from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset? the moment that you start looking at and introducing awareness in growth mindset and putting programs together where folks have this opportunity to work with other people that they normally wouldn't work with, but in a setting or in a project where they have to be forced to be a little bit uncomfortable, to have that friction, to be able to fail, having that growth mindset, I think, is really important. I think that the other piece of it is social awareness. It's really, really easy, again, to fall into that silo mindset and to fall into that they and us, even within the same company. And I think that anyone that says that that doesn't happen in their company is probably not being totally honest with themselves, right? Because I think that that exists in every company where you still have the silos, you still have the they and us. And this is the opportunity to be able to go back and say, how do I integrate more of that social intelligence, that emotional intelligence, and awareness in a way that's going to make us more effective to not only see people that are different, but understand how we can work and communicate. Because at the core of everything that we're talking about here is communication. It's everything that we do, whether it's a service, a product, at the core of it is people. And wherever you have people, you're going to have two things. You're going to have emotion, and you're going to have a need to communicate. So it's understanding how to bring those together effectively.
Yeah. Yamila, I want to go back to something that you said there. I'm sorry if I just cut someone off, but I agree with almost everything that you've said there, actually everything that you've said, but I want to challenge you to share some examples or maybe even some specifics on how we can enable or how we can create a safe space where people can think and express them differently than what is considered the norm in an organization. And so, there are standards that exist within organizations. There are, things like dress codes and, workspace etiquette, things like that exist for purpose. But in some ways, they can feel like they are hampering from people from being themselves. So tell me about how you can balance that, or an example.
Yeah, so I think an example for me, I think even within my own teams, I am not afraid to share not just successes but failures with my team. And I think that them understanding and seeing that even at my, even where I am in my career after 30 plus years, and as an executive, we're all still growing. We're all still learning. That doesn't stop at any point in our career. And the more open that we can be, or that leaders are willing to be, and the more vulnerable that they're willing to be in that regard, I think that's one of the keys to helping our teams feel that they have that safe space when their leaders themselves are also willing to put themselves in that same scenario and showcase that, hey, it's okay to fail. It's not really about the failure, it's about the recovery, right? And at the end of the day, if you're not failing, you're not learning. One of the things that I did is I challenged my entire team to do something that made them feel uncomfortable even in their personal life, because a lot of times what we're doing in our personal life has an impact on what we're doing professionally as well, and we don't necessarily realize that, but I mean, it's such a gray area these days. Everything is kind of melded together. For me, I happen to be of Hispanic background, but I also happen to be one of the few Hispanic people that is awful at dancing and does not like to put myself in public settings. I'm not a really frilly person, and I don't like people in my personal space. So there's a whole lot going on there. So I challenged myself and entered a ballroom dancing competition, having had zero dance experience whatsoever, and chronicled it for my team. so that they could see all of the times that I was, corrected and failed and had to go through this learning process and applied lessons in leadership and navigating change back to what I was doing in my personal life as a growth mindset challenge. So that's one thing, which I think has worked effectively in my organization, and a lot of the other team members have embraced this kind of mindset as well.
I love that.
We'll give you a group hug later.
No, please.
I want the video, actually. I love that, and actually, what you're talking about is creating psychological safety, and I think one of the things that I have experienced is I see employees putting leaders on pedestals and having expectations for them, and the leaders then feeling like they can't be vulnerable. And I think once you've given yourself permission to be vulnerable and to share lessons learned, because that's all a failure is. It's an opportunity to learn something. I think it is very freeing and creates a dynamic and a safer space for all people to work. So I love that example. So thank you for sharing that. I do have a question from the group, and it goes back to something that I wanted to ask, and it's around measuring impact, gaining business sponsorship. Like, what techniques do you guys, use in order to get the business behind something that you want to drive? Particularly if there's a dollar investment.
Well, I think, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, because I've already been speaking, so probably another voice would not be a bad thing.
Well, I was just going to say, I would think about it like any other business case, that if an investment is required, you need to show the return on the investment that would be out there. And sometimes it's hard to measure around some of these things, but there are metrics you can use. And, if you get top-down support from the board and from the CEO, and this is in the objectives of the company, that tends to get more traction. And that to me, what I've seen get more effectiveness out of it is getting support from the top.
So the other thing that I'll add to, go ahead, you first.
No, I was just going to maybe, add to that. I think that some folks might argue and say that not everything may have a direct impact on the bottom line from a growth perspective, but if it helps with the engagement, of the troops, it's a good investment, because it really helps to, with their engagement, and helps with their mindset. It helps them to feel like maybe their voice is being heard. And, going back to a lot of what Yamila said, I agree with it 100%. The secret sauce is having some of this stuff be able to organically come to light and let it just kind of ruminate in a very natural way. Everything can't be manufactured, but some things do have to be institutionalized so that people get, that we are trying to get to a certain place, or that we are trying to drive a certain culture or environment or what have you. So I do think it's a little bit of both. You do have to manufacture a little bit of it, institutionalize it, but you have to get out of the way and let it organically be able to kind of raise and allow people to be themselves.
Yeah. So the only thing I'll chime in on with regards to trying to sell things, right? Because everything is about the storytelling. But the more ambassadors that you have, the power of the masses, I think, makes a big difference. And so this is where, having come from an organizational change management background, for me, a lot of it is around creating what I like to call champions or ambassador groups that really help to advocate for the change of the business case that you're looking to drive, because the more examples that you can showcase, especially when a lot of it is on the soft side versus the dollar side, right? Then this is one way to do it. Secondly, I would advise you look for whoever the biggest detractor is. And start with them, because if you can get your biggest detractor on board, odds are that you're going to be able to get your message across pretty effectively.
Yeah, so I found that, influence through others is the way to go. So you
Yep.
have to find who are those advocates that are going to be willing to work with you and to speak on your behalf. And that's really the most effective way. So I'm going to pivot a little bit in the interest of time. There's one question that I've experienced personally that I'm very curious to ask the group, and that is, and this is largely from my experience in facilitating talent discussions in many different companies, but can you guys tell me about a time where you were a member of a team or a group that included the one person that represented a particular demographic that may be underrepresented in the organization, and the topic of diversity came up? What happens? Were you the one? Is there anything, how did that make you feel? How did that make them, the rest of the group feel? Just tell me about that experience, because I know I've personally witnessed this, and I have a perspective, but I would love to hear from the group. Bamini, would you share?
Absolutely. And I have thousands of stories that I can share, but I know we don't have enough time. Well, in the
Maybe
past,
you're one in particular.
yes, in the past, like I always look at this as an opportunity to work on these events when I've been, just basically given a project. Here you go, work on it. In my past organization, I was one of the only colored woman. So it was, the expectation was right there for me. But I always took these opportunities to work on these events, because to me, it's a chance to learn about other cultures and, collaborate with like diverse people, diverse teams and backgrounds. So, and I always have this learning and an educational mode. I always see this as an opportunity to educate others, um, and also learning, right, at my end as well, and teaching others. And I love seeing those aha moments. That brings just pure joy to me. I love exchanging stories, and have an open and curious mind, and never be judgmental, and always accepting. Um, so being that one person often represents like a particular demographic, it was always very challenging to me. And I think to better support from my experience to those kind of individuals, it's crucial to create that environment where everyone feels comfortable sharing their experiences and perspective, encouraging open dialogues, providing allyship training. And I've implemented this in the past, and ensuring that DEI is a shared responsibility across the team that can make a significant difference. And whenever I do something it's always been that I bring the approach to going back to my roots, my Indian philosophy. And there is a saying in my philosophy, which I live by. It's called Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which means the whole world is my family, and the whole world is one family. And our so-called big world, in fact, is very small. We are all very interconnected. So this philosophy helps me see everyone as a part of a larger inclusive community where we can foster a sense of unity and belonging. So from those experience, I've learned that, it's very important at the Hartford, the inclusivity and sense of belonging, and we all live by it. My colleagues are very supportive and approachable, and we build extremely meaningful, crucial relationships that extend beyond the workplace. Being a leader I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I love that, Bamini. Actually, the way in which you describe it is, I tend to have thought about it like, how does that individual feel? But in reality, it's an opportunity for that individual to have a magnified impact on others in the organization. So, I love that you're raising your hand. We're almost out of time. So I just, does anyone in the group want to chime in on that or any of the topics that we talked about in the last couple of minutes, and then we'll wrap it up?
Well, I'm conscious we also have a fantastic pledge to get to. So
Yes.
I think while all of us probably can chime in and tell some more stories, the time probably won't permit. I did want to just say, like, and I think that the rest of the panelists would probably agree that for anybody that is watching and has additional questions, or wants to connect with us, by all means, I think most of us are open and willing to have you connect with us afterwards as well and help to answer any questions that you have. I know for a fact I am the only Yamila Harris in all of LinkedIn. So that should be very easy to find. So
Thank you for
I just
that,
want to put
Yamila.
that out there.
I love it. And I will second that. And I think I can speak for the rest of the group that we'd all welcome the dialogue. Like, we don't have all the ideas. This is, it's going to take an army, and we're all very passionate about driving this across the industry, across the world. So thank you for that, Yamila. So let me tell you a little bit about the Inclusion Pledge. The idea behind this is to create a movement where, we all commit to one small thing that would create a more inclusive environment in our work, in our lives. And so what we're asking is everyone to commit to take the pledge. We have 3 examples of how you can do that, how you can create a more inclusive environment, but this is not the only things. So please think about what you yourself can do and commit to doing one small thing. And then we're asking that you share it via LinkedIn and reference the Global Inclusion Pledge and or dive in 2024. So can I just ask a couple shout outs from the group? My panelists, are you willing to pledge your commitment to inclusion? And if so, what are you willing to do? Anne-Marie, can I punt it to you?
Oh, you want to start with me? Put me on the spot.
I do.
Well, when I think about the word inclusion, I really think about appreciation, and that's appreciating and understanding the benefit of diverse points of view, diverse experiences. And so I'm very happy to take the pledge, and I appreciate being with all of you today. So thanks.
How about Kevin?
Yeah, absolutely. I take the pledge in all of the areas that you've highlighted as examples, and we'll share another. One of the mantras that I walk around with every day is success is a team sport. Like Bamimi, I feel like everyone's my family. So I welcome everyone into the family as we live out this pledge.
Beautiful.
Rob?
Yeah, so at Corebridge, part of our mission is to make it possible for more people to take action in their financial lives. My inclusion pledge is I will listen to my colleagues to better understand how their perspective can make me better, our company better, and to achieve our mission.
Yamila?
So I will absolutely commit to the pledge. And what I'll add to this is, as part of looking at this more broadly, I commit to helping connect people, because I think that one of the most important things that we can bring to the table is our social capital, and our ability to grow as individuals and as teams and organizations is going to come from us also making sure that we're getting to know people, not just within our organization or within our industry, but broadening and diversifying. So I have a commitment to helping to connect people beyond the realm or the scope that they're connected today.
And we're just about out of time, but Bamini, will you pledge as well?
Absolutely. I'd be honored to pledge to the inclusion. And one thing that I'll commit to be doing is continue to treat everyone like my family that I've been and provide them that love and respect.
Love it. Thank you all so much for your time, your honesty, your attention. And again, I'll reiterate what Yamila shared is we're all available. Please do connect, ask your questions. We're more than happy to listen and take any questions that you have. I think we have one last slide to share.
I can't wait to see the artwork.
I know.
I'm like, it's been on my mind the whole time.
Yeah, so we did have we had a graphic artist sharing or doodling on the conversation, and I think we'll make sure that that's shared more broadly after the session, and we want to be respectful of people's time. So I'm going to leave it at the inclusion pledge. And we'll share via LinkedIn the graphics and also the instructions on the pledge. And we hope to see all of your pledges. So thank you all again, and have a wonderful day wherever you're calling in from, and speak to you all soon.
Thank you, everyone.